Hello, everyone, and welcome back to 4pixels. We're being kink-shamed by ghosts, or more specifically, Layfulay and Buttons are.
It's fine. We deserve it.
We don't
Maybe a
really
little.
know why, but we know that it's happening.
It's awful. You don't want to know.
Unfortunately, the thing we're talking about, they haven't paid us to sponsor them, so we're not even gonna name any sites or anything like that.
A horrible,
Wow.
horrible time, and I hate my whole existence. Please continue.
Isabella and him will get along so well. I do get his reasons. After all, I've had my fair taste of the bizarre lately. All of which might have been brought upon by that letter Isabella found here. But you'd think he'd at least be charitable enough to take me a little closer to the house itself, not at a distance 15 minutes away from it by foot. Good thing I'm not wearing anything too formal or constricting. Otherwise, that short walk would have likely put me in a bad mood long before I have to suffer in a room full of strangers tonight. Estoy haciendo algo. By way de- Perdón. Otherwise, that short walk would have put me in a bad mood long before I have to suffer in a room full of strangers tonight. Although this soon proves to be a problem, the second the driveway comes into view and I near the entrance. Severely underdressed is a total understatement to describe how I look. Cars worth more than my own apartment and childhood home combined line the mansion's front yard. Men and women decked out in their best also flock near the entrance. Most are eager for the festivities to start, while some are simply idling about, enjoying the warm afternoon sun before it sets. But once the woman standing at the front porch speaks, their undivided attention immediately shifts to her. Presumably Miss Wright, from the confident manner she holds herself among present company. This despite keeping a far simpler appearance than the rest of her own guests, or not having her husband beside her. A trait worthy of utmost admiration at best. At worst, she's the envy of every woman, the subject of every gossip in Luxbourne.
Welcome, welcome everyone.
And Mum said we could have been good friends. I can't even picture myself mingling with the kind of guests she has. Though I admit she does seem familiar, now that I've seen her this close. Memories of sitting in a vanity not mine, being dressed in clothes too fancy for my tastes. They flit briefly in my mind until her cheerful tone rises above the buzz of her enraptured audience again.
Please make yourselves at home.
I wish I can share her enthusiasm, really. But being surrounded by all this extravagance, for the lack of a better term, merely makes me dread how the rest of the night might go. I shouldn't have let Luke's words affect me like that. I should have just gone ahead and asked Ashton like I've planned. If he were here, then I won't have to.
Be careful with Shirley, alright?
The rest of that thought dies in my mind at once. A moment of astonishment overcomes me, before confusion sets in seconds later. It takes another for my body to catch up. Once it does, when I finally turn to see it for myself, it's his familiar mop of hair that catches my eyes first. And there he is, almost in arm's reach if it isn't for the guest standing between us. Ashton Frey, standing in the Ermengarde's mansion driveway, with an air too lackadaisical for someone who absolutely abhors parties of any form. Or has any business here, as far as I know. The picture it forms is too bizarre for me, that my mouth speaks out ahead of my coherent thoughts.
Ashton?
He swivels on his heel with an equally puzzled face. An odd expression flashes momentarily across it once he sees me, though he blinks it away before I can figure out what it is exactly.
Becca, what are you doing here?
I was invited.
Really? I had no idea you were friends with the host.
Well, it's my parents, actually. But that's beside the point. What are you doing here? You hate parties.
I still do. I'm just here on behalf of a friend.
That in itself is weird, coming from him. It doesn't help that he isn't even making an effort to spare a glance my way when he answers. Instead, they're focused at some point in the crowd. His gaze darting between people past us until a small frown forms in his face.
That's rare. Do you have someone with you then?
Nope, just me. I won't be staying long.
Well, if that's the case, maybe you and I can...
Chief?
Ashton, what's...
Unexpectedly, he places a hand on my shoulder, stopping me mid-sentence. He still has the distracted look on him, except this time his eyes are sharper, as if he has found what or who he's been searching for among the throng of partygoers earlier.
Sorry, Becca. I need to... There's something I need to check for a bit. I'll talk to you later. Do you have a ride home?
No, I had to take a cab here. My car wouldn't start this afternoon. But what about...
I told you to get that old thing checked before, didn't I? You can head back with me after this. Anyway, I gotta go. See ya. Be careful, okay?
I meet the smile he hastily throws my way with a frown of my own. What does he mean by that? But before I can ask, already he has turned his back from me and is walking away, without a single explanation whatsoever. In some desperate effort, I try to catch up to him, if only to know what warranted this sudden departure and his odd warning at the end.
Hey, be careful! About what
Only for my attempts to be interrupted by a muffled ringing from my pocket. Mum's cheerful voice greets me as soon as I answer.
Yes, I'm at the party already, Mom. Yes, I'll say hi to her if I can.
The conversation itself doesn't last long. Just a simple hello, a reminder to enjoy the party and to send their regards to their old student. But when the call ends and I get up to look, Ashton's already nowhere in sight. With a sigh and, admittedly, a little disappointment, I tuck my mobile back into my pocket and head inside. Even with familiar company, however coincidental this meeting is, this is somehow shaping up to be a terrible evening. The party hits full swing an hour later. With the host opening remarks given, still no sign of her husband, the poor woman, and the guests promptly fed, the band shifts the melody to a livelier tune. Soon laughter and the rhythmic tapping of shoes fills the room, all in accordance to the lifting strains of music. It seems fun, I admit. Fascinating at certain moments, the flurry of dancers making the music their own, almost with no care in the world. If I weren't so indisposed, I'd have joined the crowd for a song or two. There isn't a lack of invitations, anyway. Plenty of them, in fact, with some asking more than once. It's only my stubborn refusal that prevents me from joining them. And I can. A single nod is all it'll take, and the evening would have been far enjoyable for me. But pride in my own silly hopes, the thought of being seen with one of them by him, curbs that, as much as I hate to admit it. because doing so also means outright acknowledging the douche's claims. That he has to be the one to tell me that sends my blood boiling.
Bruh, you had plenty opportunities to see it before that.
Yeah. I would have preferred someone more agreeable, less of an arse. It's a hard truth to swallow, especially when the very person at the center of it makes denial difficult. Can't even spare me a minute of his attention, or a single glance at me the whole evening. Hell, Zachary might have spoken more words to me. The big guy's busy covering the event to boot. But at least he manages to slip in a conversation or two between takes, or a small wave of his hand when he passes by. What's Ashton's excuse? He's been flitting in and out of sight the whole time. One moment he's hanging around a small group, and another he's hovering around the string band. Just a second ago, he's wolfing down some deviled eggs by the buffet table, a glass of wine in hand.
I relate so hard.
Nom, 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 nom. The next thing I know, he's gone. If I didn't know any better, I'd say he doesn't want to be with any of his friends. Is it because his boss is here? What's the big deal about that? It has never bothered him before.
I swear, the next person who asks, I'm dancing the night away with. Ashton can go fuck himself.
Amazing.
You would catch his eye a lot better if you wore nicer clothes, don't
What
you
an
think?
asshole! That's Luke, isn't it?
That's Hannah!
That's even better.
What?
I mean, it did happen
All right,
in
this
conversation
scene.
before. And I'm just
Yeah, right, this scene.
I'm laughing because in the diary, Hannah dressed her all up for Ashton to notice, and he didn't realize a single thing. So I'm just like, that didn't work the last time, Hannah. Her voice almost makes me jump, too focused on the gobshite wandering around the ballroom and my own annoyance to notice. If she's heard any of the profanities I've mumbled, or she's taken notice of my discomfiture, she makes no comment on it, merely greeting me with a smile when I turn my attention to her. Miss Hannah Wright gives off a whole different air when she's not speaking to an audience. Homely, a bit too friendly for my liking. But I guess that comes from being raised in such an environment and having to deal with pompous, snooty people. Though, I suppose nothing has really changed from years ago. I remember her carrying herself in the same manner during that one and only visit. Does she remember any of it? I won't be surprised if she doesn't. It has taken me a while myself. She probably met a lot of people like little Becky throughout the years, might have already forgotten about me or my parents. People like her thrive on connections, after all. Nevertheless, I return her smile, awkward and stiff as it may be.
Didn't realize the housewarming was going to be this fancy. I would have gone with a nice dress if I knew.
Oh, you're fine, dearie. It's only really the parvenus, those who climb, that come to these parties all dolled up. Quite the black-haired beauty, isn't he?
It takes me a while to realize who she's talking about. Until Ashton walks by again, in closer proximity than any of the times he's done so far this evening. Still, without a look of acknowledgement our way, though, even if Miss Wright speaks loud enough to catch the attention of anyone within earshot.
Who, Ash?
You know, you really shouldn't have turned down those offers. If I wasn't married, I'd happily go dancing with those young men. But you said a name. Ash. That's the exquisite lad you've been looking at all this time. I don't know him, and I'm the one hosting this party. That must mean you know each other. Is he your boyfriend then? Because that would explain those rejections.
This isn't the first time someone has made that assumption. Almost every student I've had in the past did. My coworkers, more often than not, assume he is. A few of my neighbors also think we're an item. Not that Ashton has ever reacted to those. He's been quite indifferent about it, in fact. I mean, I think that would have said a lot.
Yeah, like honestly, I feel bad for Becca, but also there's a whole shit ton of denial in there.
Yeah.
Because this has been going on for like what, 20 something years?
17.
That's a long time to be like,
Yeah.
he's gonna see me eventually.
Yeah, that's. Ah, Becca.
Still, the heat of a blush creeps up my cheeks, a denial ready, despite wanting it to happen so badly myself.
What? No, that's ridiculous. He isn't my boyfriend.
Such a violent reaction. A simple no would have sufficed. Many here would be happy to hear it.
And I haven't been looking at him.
Mm-hmm.
I do my best to summon a straight face, but before her good cheer, it easily falters.
That's right. You've been staring. Quite heatedly, in fact. Although I'm not sure if you look like you want to kiss him or kill him.
Those aren't mutually exclusive.
It's
Accurate.
more the latter currently.
Just don't go murdering him on my property. I don't want to walk into a room and suddenly find a body there.
It's infectious in a way. No sooner I find myself enjoying our chat more than I've imagined myself to. Although her attention briefly wavers at one point, she remains a good companion. I wonder why. Even more, once I've mentioned who my parents are, her face quickly lights up, and fondness graces her face, despite the meeting from several years ago being a short one. But of course, there are some things we can't really avoid talking about. After all, it's one of the few things I remember her asking me, the moment she spotted little Becky in the room. Do you have a boyfriend? In retrospect, it's an odd thing to talk about as children, when there are loads we could have started with.
Yes, oh, I remember you! You were the cutest little thing with glasses! And when we met, you were having boy troubles with this lad called something with an A.
I believe I still have the clothes she gave me, chosen all so I could impress him. And even back then, Ashton had always been denser than a rock, and that one attempt to get him to notice backfired spectacularly. Sure, he's keen. He's a detective, for heaven's sake, but feelings, more often than not, escapes him.
What was it again? Aaron, Alan, Adele, Albert, Alexander, Andrew?
Which makes this whole talk all the more embarrassing. And the more names she lists off, the more my discomfort grows until my smile turns into a grimace. What will she think of me? Here she is, married, to a man she most probably loves at that. While I'm still stuck in the same place, yearning for the same person.
Ashton! Ash! That
Wake up,
man is
Becca.
a boy! The same one. Oh, goodness me, after all these years! I can see why, though. He's quite dashing.
You don't really need to announce it to everyone with an earshot, you know? Keep it down.
I'm so sorry, but it really is cute.
She says that, but for a moment a hint of pity flickers in her eyes. I take that as a chance to change the subject before anything more can be said over the matter. I haven't even figured out how I should feel about the things Luke told me. Now I'm getting dragged into a similar discussion.
This is a nice party, Miss Wright.
Though, to be frank, I doubt she'll be so willing to pass this up. The topic has already captured her attention.
Please, Hana's fine. We're friends of a sort, aren't we? We must be friends, seeing as I know about your little infatuation, Becky. Don't you worry, dearie. You'll have your happy ending yet.
I'm not too concerned about that, am I? That's not what I'm looking for.
Oh? And what makes you think that? Doesn't everybody want their happy ending?
The idea of happy endings sounds like they're just for fairy tales. And they are, sorta. I don't think you can just sit around, trapped in some tower and hope for the best. If you love them, you have to fight for it, right? You're not just going to sit there and hope that everything will just fix itself on its own. Like everything, you have to work at it.
Maybe take some of your own advice, Becca.
Ooh. Damn.
Bum, 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 bum.
Hypocrisy! That's what this is. How dare I preach about something when it's exactly what I've been doing. And then I go and act as if I'm entitled to any of it. That, by virtue of us growing up together, he must return what I feel for him. That he's not allowed to look at another because I'm the one who has stayed by his side the longest. When in the first place, Ashton has always been his own person. This is something I cannot force on him. I can only hold on to these, take care of it until the time comes I can confess it to him. Great.
That should have been a long while ago.
To be fair, she did confess to him once. But he was,
Okay.
you know, they pulled the old anime cliche of he was wearing headphones and didn't hear it, and then she was too embarrassed to try again.
God damn it.
Great. If he reciprocates, but if he can't, if he won't, selfish. I've been too selfish. How laughable that Luke's words still strike true up until now.
But what do I know?
I'm sure the daughter of the two greatest professors I've ever known is smart enough to know what she's talking about.
At one point, maybe I would have easily agreed to that. However, the past weeks have also seen changes in the way I view things. As nice as these things sound, it turns out whatever I previously know may not even be true for other people, or for myself. It is sobering and almost funny how I might have said with much certainty before, now has doubts muddying each of them. But there will be time to mull about these later, because when a hush suddenly descends in the room, a whole different issue rears. Especially when Luke, fucking Luke, strides into the now quiet ballroom, fashionably late and oozing with the same pompous
Mien.
mien he always carries around with him.
Good
What's
evening, ladies and
Mien?
gents. Enjoying the party?
You know, I don't actually know. I just know how to pronounce it.
I see.
It's like an air.
Oh, okay.
Kind
I
of
hope
closer
I'm not
to
too
like
late
the
in
aura
welcoming
about
you
them.
all to the right
okay.
mansion.
Before long, Hana leaves my side to join him, and it doesn't take a genius to piece it all together.
Welcome one and all to our humble abode. Tonight, if you have yet to find yourself in your roles, you are all ladies and lords of the court of your king and queen. If you would excuse my presumptuousness. So, enjoy the feast that has been laid out for your senses, as we only allowed the best to be served. Enjoy the rest of your night, everyone!
We should have had a cringe counter in this LP.
His attitude, the manner he carries himself around people, his unfamiliarity with that part of the city. Of fucking course. I should have known. Although I'm partly at fault here, tabloids and the gossip columns have never been really my thing. I should have also expected that wherever Luke fucking Wright is, some sort of drama will sure follow. He seems the kind of person who revels in it. Figures it'll find him on its own, even when he's not asking for it. It happens amidst a round of applause and hoots, that people lagging behind the crowd they've gathered does not catch on, until the cheers turn into several scandalized gasps.
I am pregnant with your little bastard. You promised me you'll take responsibility. God damn it, Luke. I finally got you to talk to me after months of silence, and you do this to me.
What do you mean you're pregnant with? Luke, is this true?
Lies and slander, woman! Security! Johans, take her out of here before she makes an even bigger fool of herself!
No, you do not do this to me. I was so ready to leave my stupid oaf of a husband. I told you to leave that damn wife of yours. Look at her. Does she look like she wants a baby? Does she look like she could take care of a baby?
Boy, does that feel so different now playing Hannah's part.
Yeah.
Oh, that's rough.
The commotion doesn't go further, despite the drunk woman appearing like she has plenty more venom to spill. In a little while, security shows up, escorting her out. Apparently, she's the chief inspector's wife too. As if the whole thing can't get any more fucked up than it already is. What a mess. But the damage has been done, and beyond the repercussions this will bring, I'm more worried about Hana. Maybe Luke too, in part. I've seen the man that hides behind his self-importance, and it is someone who cares for the person who stands beside him. No matter how questionable that is now. After all, no anger is worse than that of a scorned woman. And Hana. Well, as refined and well-mannered she is in front of their guests, I'm not sure if she'll be all too willing to tolerate this. Her party, her home, her husband, and that woman has just dared to walk over it. Yet when I glance at her, there's only defeat, a weary slump on her shoulders, and a certain depth to her breathing. Like the fight has already been drained out of her long ago. I don't know since when this has been going on. I don't know either of them well enough to judge for myself. I'm simply an outsider who happens to have some kind of connection with both of them. But the air of a person who wishes for respite, it's all too easy to see it in her as she quietly watches the commotion carry on around her. In a moment, before I can think it through, I'm pulling her to the side and waving Zachary over to us.
Becca, this is a real oh, hey, Miss Wright.
Hello, Zachary. I told you to call me Hana. Did I not?
Yeah, you did.
Admittedly, this air of familiarity between them catches me off guard. I won't put it past Hannah. Her standing in society compels her to keep appearances. The be nice to everyone sort of thing. While Zachary's growing client base sometimes calls for rubbing elbows with the rich and famous. Although from the way it appears, this one seems to go beyond maintaining a facade or work.
Yeah, because of course they can't be friends, Becca.
How dare.
I wonder how this friendship came to be. I'd ask, but we start to attract some curious eyes. Most of them are probably searching for more gossip, something to add fuel to the fire. Thankfully, there's no need to explain it to Zachary. He's aware of the situation all too well.
So, this is what you called me for? We gonna get Hana out of here?
That'd be
God
great.
bless Zachary.
Yeah,
Perfect cinnamon roll.
best boy.
Best boy.
Best character.
Yep.
Soon, he's leading the three of us out of the ballroom. Anyone who dare speak or approach on our way out, I shut them down with a sharp glare.
I think we need to have a counter for how many times we called Zachary a cinnamon roll, and just take that picture that the dev studio did.
Yeah.
And just put that like in the corner next to the counter.
That's like one of my favorite tweets of all time ever. It's saved on my phone when I have a bad day. I just look at it and I'm like, yes.
It was amazing.
And with that, we will end this episode right here. Thank you guys for joining us, and see you next time.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye. The art's really cute.
Mm-hmm. Take it, Jamie. You are our protagonist.
Oh, am I? Oh, goodness. All right. My world was met. It's in. Blah. All right, hang on.
Everyone's saying we're gonna suffer.
Oh, boy. My world met its end a long time ago. The humanity as I knew it has ceased to exist and disappeared without a single trace. The gods they believed in have died, and churches were built as their graves. The chaos turned into order, and it finally became quiet. All I can do is dream, for I am so tired.
Relatable.
Before I abandon the words that form noise in my head, will you be so kind as to join me in dream seeing? Hello, Charlotte, episode 1. Junk food, gods, and teddy bears.
Sounds like a good time.
I'm gonna say we're off to a good start.
It's only the end of the world.